Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nerf Show, the one-stop shop for all things geek. I'm your host, the Arbiter, and if you're into video games, movies, esports, or pop culture, you came to the right place. And whether you're a lifelong geek or you're just now becoming one, the Nerf Show is the best place to be. So, let's take a seat and let's talk geek. Welcome back, everyone, and I'm pretty excited for today's episode. We have a lot of things that came about, and that have just been recently coming up on, and a whole bunch of things, and we just want to be able just to talk about those things today. We do apologize that we didn't have an episode for you guys last week. We just basically just took some time off. So we want to make sure that we had a good episode to be able to bring to you guys, for you guys to be able to enjoy. For today's main topic, it might be a little too early to say, but I feel like that this is going to end up getting a lot of talks about. But it's going to be about the show that recently came up onto Disney Plus, Star Wars Acolyte. And we did mention about a little bit about Star Wars Acolyte within our first episode, but today we're going to be talking a little bit more about Acolyte and how it's progressing for as a show, and see about where it's going to lead us. But if you haven't seen the episode, be ready for spoilers. But if you want to be able to save yourself some of that, make sure you go watch the show. But before we get into that, we're going to end up going and talk about some stuff here. So we're going to get right up into our game talk. So in today's game talk, we wanted to be able to talk about to you guys of the events that happened last weekend. As we all know, Microsoft and Xbox just had their game showcase, displaying about a bunch of the games that are going to be coming out, between of certain games, between of like Activision, Bethesda, Blizzard, Xbox Game Studios, but a bunch of games that Xbox has mainly partnered up with. And I feel like that these games that are coming out are going to be really, really exciting, and I'm really excited to be able to share these with you guys. If you haven't been able to see the showcase, don't worry. The showcase is all on YouTube. You can basically see all the games that came out, on trailers and such, gameplay trailers, whatever they may be. But make sure you check that out, because I feel like that some of the stuff might be able to excite you. But we're going to be able just to talk about just a couple things here that we saw from that showcase, and give you guys a little bit of insight for it. So we know that ahead of time, we knew that we were getting a new Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now, the way how it shows from the trailer, it might be a continuation, obviously, from the last Call of Duty Black Ops game that was out, and it was introducing some new features that Call of Duty is going to be bringing into, mostly for multiplayer gameplay. Now, if you want to be able to check out all those specifics, make sure you check out their channel. Well, not really the channel, but make sure you check out the video in regards about Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the gameplay trailer, whatever it may be. There's a few of them that can give you a little bit more explanation for it, but there's going to be a little bit more, I guess you say, movement improvement for the players, that allows them to be able to have a little bit more of a slighter edge, I guess, when playing the game. Certain things between of like allowing them to be able to do a full 360 dive spin, allowing you to be able to dive forward, but then also at the same time spin in the air and be able to shoot something that's behind you. Another thing that they had mentioned was that you are be able to sprint in all directions. So you could be able to, other than sprinting forward, you could be able to sprint left, right, and backwards. So that was another thing I think that Call of Duty is trying to be able to introduce here. But if you want to be able to learn more about that, make sure you check out that video. I think it's a very interesting video to check out. But there was a few other things that we had saw that was very, very, very interesting. And excuse of the notepad, this is how we take notes. This is how we be able to give you guys a good show. So we know that there was a bunch of other games that were coming out this year, like, for example, Star Wars Outlast. That was another game that we had mentioned in the first episode, but in this one that we had seen from the Xbox Showcase, we were able to get a better glimpse about how the gameplay was going to end up featuring and how more of the physical combat systems and such were going to be able to take place. Now, we had the luxury about being able to see the trailer, to be able to watch and experience it. And it's very, very, very impressive. It takes you about, how to be able to look for objectives, how to be able to search stuff. There's also what shows to be a crafting system, and also an ability system. And it looks like that you could be able to go through about doing things like looking for like a teacher to teach you certain skills as a we haven't really defined whether they're like a smuggler, a scoundrel, whatever they may be, but we know that they're a person that can be able to handle a blaster very well. So, it's kind of like our version of Cal Kestis, but instead of a lightsaber, you get a blaster. And we are able to see a little bit more about how the certain things about how it would affect the game itself. Like how you would end up interacting with other things that would go on live action in the game. If there was something going on about if people were getting shot at by bad guys, and if you prevented those people getting destroyed, it actually impacts you within the game. And there's other things that's going to be happening within the game, and if you are people that do like how games like that do work, where your actions within a game impact about how certain things come out. So hopefully we see more of that, and to be honest, I'm excited to see how that turns out. I'm excited to see of how the game for that comes to be. Now, other than Star Wars, we end up noticing of a bunch of other games that were going to be coming out. We had saw that we're getting another Doom. I don't know how I feel at Doom. I'm not a big fan of Doom. I know it's been a great franchise. I know it's been a great game and everything, but I'm just not a fan of it. I like the franchise. I like what it does, and I love the concept and everything. It's just a game not for me. But now they came up with a thing that's called Doom: The Dark Ages, and it doesn't look any different than any other Doom game. The only difference is that you get a shield, and you can fling it like Captain America, and it has blades on it. So, yeah, I don't know. If you want to be able to, if you are a fan of Doom, you like to be able to check that out, make sure you do so, because it's just me. I'm not. I don't know how I feel about it. But other than Doom, if you don't like Doom, there's been other things that have come about. We saw that there's gonna be a new Gears of War E-Day, and it does have, I believe, of what I did not see the trailer. Now, that's one thing I did not watch, but I believe about what I saw was that we do have Marcus Phoenix in it. So as far as we know, he's still about. He's still walking around. So we're gonna be able to see him in the game along with other characters within the game as well. And and that's my fault for it, so I'm definitely going to be able to watch that and check out how that is. But then we've seen other games that have coming about that have been listed, like, for example, we have this game called Expedition 33. And the full title for it's called Clair Obscure Expedition 33. We've known of other games that are going to be coming out, like Atom Fall. We know other things between of um, like a World of Warcraft update. So we've seen a few other things that are coming about. But speaking of updates, we know that there has been some waiting in certain into some games. Like if you are a fan of Sea of Thieves, Sea of Thieves is going to be coming out with a new, I guess you could say, update to the game. Now I don't know what that is specifically, but if you guys want to be able to learn more about it, make sure you follow Sea of Thieves and make sure that you end up following about what that update is going to be about. Now, we also know that we are also getting another, I guess you could say, expansion to Starfield. If you are not familiar with Starfield, Starfield is a wonderful game. Make sure that you check out Starfield. If you haven't had experience to play it, you can get on all or I should say, you can get on Steam or on Xbox Game Pass. So feel free to check out that game. But along with the game itself, it's gained its first expansion to it, which is called Shattered Space. We don't know specifically much about it yet, but we do know is that this is going to be the first continuation of the Starfield storyline that we've had from playing the game. And I'm very excited to see about what comes about it, and I'm hoping to see some new things added to it. Maybe like some new weapons, maybe some new ship modifications, maybe some new abilities that you gain. Because within the game itself, you do gain like I forgot what they called it, but abilities that you could be able to muster at will. So I'm very excited to see about how Starfield is going to pan out for the future. We know that they have been talking about the first expansion or DLC for a while when the game first came out. So now with Xbox Showcase that did come out, we do know of how this is going to end up turning out. So I'm pretty excited to do it, to go through that. I might play the game again, start from the beginning, and then be able to continue on within Shattered Space when it comes out. Other stuff that we know that's going to be coming out is that we have another Assassin's Creed game. Yes, boys and girls, Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I am very, very, very excited for this one. This is where it takes place in Japan. And you get to be able to go through bouts of the ways of the samurai. And boy, we've been wanting this type of game for quite a while. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had great other ones that came out before, like, Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, all great games. But I feel like that with a lot of people who have anticipated certain games like this, for example, like especially if you are a person who's very very into the Japanese culture to the samurai culture, or just just a big fan about Japan's architecture in general. Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to bring that. We were able to see some of the gameplay for it. You are going to be able to have the opportunity to be able to play between two characters within the story. One that is a female who seems to have more versatility and has more gadgets to her arsenal, which is as any other assassin should. And then we have one that is more as a samurai, where he goes through the whole samurai mantra. He has the outfit, he has the sword, everything. So I'm pretty excited to see how that pans out. Now, as far as we understand, all of these games that we've been talking about are going to be coming out this year. So I'm very, very excited to see how these all come out. Now, we did end up seeing a couple other games listed. We end up seeing an update for the Division, which is called The Division: The First Rogue, which ends up going into about how the Division is going to end up getting its first Division rogue, which basically means that one of their own is actually betrayed them. So I'm very, very interested about how that might end up planning out and how they're going to end up rattling that into the game itself. Now we did seeing, I wouldn't say it's a remake. I would say it's a recreation of the original, but we had Perfect Dark that was revealed for it. And if what we understand is that this might be a reboot. Actually, that might be the word, reboot, from Perfect Zero Dark, which was a game that came out on the Xbox years ago, back in the early 2000s. And Perfect Dark, I believe, is what seems to be the reboot for the original game that came out in the early 2000s. And I'm very excited to see how that is. We saw the interesting gameplay to it. You're going to be able to look this in first person, so it has like a little bit of a Dying Light movement with a little bit of combat into it, which should be very, very exciting. Other games that we end up seeing from it was like State of Decay 3. That was also another thing. And then we end up seeing a bunch of other listings that came up to it, like, Warcraft. We end up seeing another where it's going to end up introducing another Elder Scrolls segment, Fallout 76. The list goes on. But there's one thing that came up to me, and I was just like, why? Why are they doing this? I don't know how they're coming about this. What gave them the idea? But it was very interesting for me when it came across my screen. We are getting the very first Indiana Jones game. It is going to be called Indiana Jones: The Great Circle. Now, I don't know how the story is going to go for it, but we did get a glimpse of the first trailer for the game itself. It is going to be first-person game itself. Not really sure about how it all is going to show out down the road, but it looks interesting. I don't know, like it just looks interesting to me, and I'm kind of excited to see how this all does pan out. And I'm kind of interested to see about how the game overall and it displays itself when it comes out. So for all we know, it might be a good game. For all we know, it might turn out to be bad. We don't know just yet, but from the trailer that it came out with, it might be very interesting to give it a go and play. So, and along with that, Xbox had came about of displaying 3 new consoles. I wouldn't say they're new, but Xbox had displayed three new consoles to the showcase. And like I said, I wouldn't consider them new. I would consider them more as a little decal update. They end up having one Xbox where it was the the standard Xbox, where it had, I think they added a little bit of glitter to it. The only difference was that they had it with 2 terabytes of storage, and then with the Xbox One S, it was the same, but other than being like the smaller version, it's got 1 terabyte of storage. And then they end up coming out with a white version of the bulkier version for it. So we're gonna end up seeing about how that is. So I don't know how it's gonna be, but hopefully that we end up seeing a lot of stuff from these games. So I hope we expect a lot, but we're gonna end up seeing more from it. But that's gonna be all of our game talk. So we're gonna get right up into the main event. All right then. So Star Wars Acolyte. Like I said, if you haven't watched the show, this is going to be spoilers. So make sure you watch it. As we continue here, we're just as a recap for those, who have watched it. Obviously, this is obviously canon. For all we know, it could not be canon. I don't know, but either way, so we know that the events of Star Wars Acolyte takes place 100 years before the rise of the Empire, and we know that that at this point, the Jedi are basically established keepers of the peace. We know that everything is on course as the way it should, and everything as the build-ups for the Jedi, introducing with new Jedi for Jedi training, and introducing about how the ranks and stuff go within the show itself. Now, we had a character. We kind of like focus on like one character within the story. The character's name is Osha, and she is a little troubling, as she would like to describe herself within the show. And we know that we have learned from the show itself that Osha has a sister that goes by the name of May. Now, if you haven't watched episode 3 yet, by the time this is released, episode 3 will already be out. So if you haven't watched episode 3, make sure you go and take a look. But we learned that from the show itself that these two girls were part of I guess you could say, a society that was consist of women, and we knew that several members of the Jedi Order, especially the ones that we saw from the first couple episodes, and we know that they're Force users, or in other cases they call them Force sensitives. But there's other words that a lot of people use within descriptions for it. I was kind of confused at the moment, because I was like, wait, hold on. I was like, I gotta go back real quick. I don't even know what acolyte really means. I don't even know what acolyte stands for. So I looked up the word, and I know it sounds a little cliche. I know it sounds a little dumb, but for some people, it's like, what does this word mean? So acolyte is just basically short terms for the definition of follower. So we definitely know that May, from the show itself, she is considered as an acolyte for the for a dark Jedi that has popped up at the end of the first episode. Now, within this point of the Star Wars lore itself, before the Phantom Menace, they still had that they were considered called Sith, but there wasn't really any Sith at the time. But we knew that Sith were going to end up coming back eventually, but we just did not know about when the Sith would end up making their move against the Republic, against the Jedi, whatever they may be. So we know that they pop up within the first episode, so we know that within the 100 years we're going to end up seeing a Sith pop up, before the Phantom Menace, which is explainable, because if you go up into the original lore of Star Wars, within the Old Republic itself, it wasn't called the High Republic; it was called the Old Republic, where there was a lot of conflicts between the Sith Empire, the Jedi, and there was a lot of battles and wars waged and such for that. And a lot of it, explains from the lore, the video games that have came out within the years, a lot of stuff within the vast years of Star Wars being known as a title. So we know that that this dark figure, I'm calling it dark figure. Um, we know that understand that this is going to be the first Sith that that the Jedi are going to end up seeing for a vast number of years. Now, if you end up remembering from the original channel, I wouldn't say channel trailer, that of the show when it first came out, we end up knowing that Master So ends up asking, "Who are you?"
What are you?
And so we were like, who could this be? We know that this Sith is face, their face is covered. We know that they have some type of headgear that protects their face for it. So I'm kind of interested to see how that all comes into play. And I think, and this is just me, who's been a fan of this franchise for years. Um, I think that this has relation to. I wouldn't say this, and I'm not justifying my answer to this 100%. But this also does have a relation to to Darth Revan, to Darth Nihilus, back in the Knights of the Old Republic video games that came out. So it just feels kind of similar. I'm not saying that it is, but it has that kind of feel to it. So if it does bring to that sort of thing, that's just my theory to it. That's just what I think. And I feel like that we're gonna get something very interesting when the dark figure, the dark Jedi, whatever you want to call him, comes into play later on within the show. Now, there were some other things that I saw from watching the episodes that I really liked to see. One, the distinction between of Jedi robes, which was really cool because within the original lore, they kind of caught that spot on where the Jedi, when they were in the temple, they wore different robes, which was kind of like their temple robes per se. And they were just pure white, which as we saw from the show. And when they go out into away from the temple, or when they're going to be going on missions and such, they don't go from white. They switch to kind of more of a battle gear type of wear. Their cloak is brown. Their outfits are completely different. And there was this one other thing that I saw that I was very, very happy to see. Was from the second episode where you saw Master Show end up fixing his wrists. You get to see a glimpse of battle gear, battle protective gear, which was very good because back in the original like lores, games that we've seen such, they did wear battle gear. It's not preferably showed a lot, but Jedi wore specific battle gear that they had when they went into combat, and I thought that was very exciting to see. Whether if they show more of that later on, whether if we get to see more something of that, I don't know. But overall, I'm kind of excited to see about how that's going to pull up into the franchise, whether if they're going to bring something more into it or something else. Now, I did know, and I don't think they are going to end up going that into discussion within the show itself, but within Star Wars itself, other than masters, you had what was called Grand Masters, which basically were the high, basically the higher ups, the big dogs of the order itself. So you had Padawan, Jedi, Jedi Knight, and then Master, or Jedi Master, and then Jedi Grandmaster, which were basically the Jedi that were just basically fully connected with the Force. They were just type of thing, like they're just one piece monks type of thing. And and you end up hearing that a lot from the show, because people didn't really refer to Jedi as Jedi a lot. They referred to Jedi as monks, which was basically what the Jedi were within those years. They were basically a group of monks that wanted to be able to find people that were connected to the Force, that had an ability to be able to establish that connection, and wanted to train them to become Jedi and be able to wield the Force, and to be able to know the ways of the Jedi, etc., etc. And that's what the Jedi did for for thousands of years. And then obviously there are certain cultures, clans, cults, whatever you want to call it, that don't believe in those certain things that the Jedi do. So they don't really say it, but I say that it's more the dark side of it, where you have certain cultures and clans that teach the Force, but they don't acknowledge it as being called the Force or something. They call it as like as some type of energy, a power that only special people can be able to have. And from Acolyte episode 3, that's where they mainly showed it a lot. From when we were learning more about Osha and May's story, and how the four Jedi came into contact with them, and how the first two episodes made more sense, because May was trying to go around killing Jedi for no apparent reason, and we don't know why. And then we end up seeing that the four Jedi that were end up being described were the ones that showed up on Brendok, which was Osha's and May's home. So, and it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of interested to see how May's story unravels within this show, because we know that she is a strong Force user, and the one thing that she craves, well, other than being with her sister, but the one thing that she craves is a lightsaber, because we know for a fact that every time when she encounters with a Jedi, she tries to grab their lightsaber. She wants one so bad, because she knows that they can't be a Jedi without it. And whew, boy, and that's just something a Jedi or a Sith needs. It's a tool of extension to themselves, which is something that they cannot live without. Even though it's not really just mentioned in physical discussion, but the lightsaber is literally an extension or a part of a Jedi or Sith. It's basically their life. It's basically their tool for anything that they need. It's basically it's like a second body to them. If they lose it, it's like they're losing themselves. So they have to make sure they keep their lightsaber with them, to have that type of connection to it. Because along with the Jedi becoming a Jedi, going through the Jedi trials and such, is building the lightsaber, because I wouldn't say it like it, but the way how you would describe it is you're pouring your soul into it, you're building your blood, your sweat into it, to build this one of a kind lightsaber that you will personally use to your own adventure, whatever that may be, encounters with anything to it. So, and that's whole things between of the hilt, between of the blade extensions, to anything that is detailed within a lightsaber itself, including the kyber crystal and the color to it when you make the lightsaber, because a Jedi has to establish whether they want something that's more of a combat style, which is blue, one that's they are more dedicated to the Force, which is green, and one that's more of like, oh, I want to be able to rely about to my skills and uses, which is yellow, because uh that's a big distinction for it. Now there's other colors of kyber crystals that they are introducing, and lightsabers and all within the franchise itself, but that would be a discussion for another day. And to go about it, I'm excited to see about what the next episode is, and I'm kind of excited to see how these next few episodes come about within Star Wars Acolyte. Now, like I've said from the beginning, if you haven't watched the show yet, be sure to go to Disney Plus, check out the show itself, and make sure that you end up seeing everything. Even though it's the first 3 episodes, make sure you pay attention to all details with it, because I feel like we're going to end up getting something really soon. New episodes come out every Tuesday, so be sure that you tune in every Tuesday to watch a new episode of Star Wars Acolyte every single time, every single week, until they stop making it, or see how the show goes further into it. But yeah, let me know about how you guys feel about Star Wars Acolyte, and how you feel about what you're gonna see within the show and such. Just tell me all about it within the comments, and love to be able to get a perspective about how people are thinking about the show, how it's going to build, how it's going to end up showing about what Osha and May are going to be within the show, or how the Jedi itself are going to deal when they first encounter this dark Jedi, or whatever that may be. But I'm excited to see how this unfolds, and I'm really excited to see about how we get to experience a new story of Star Wars, that not much people really see much. Unless if you're a person who reads all all the old Star Wars lore, anything that basically leads up to the Phantom Menace, you won't be able to know as much about how that story is, how that lore pertains and leads up to everything. But the High Republic, and the story of how it displays itself, is something new that we're going to end up seeing. So, we're very excited to see about how this all plays out within the franchise itself, and I'm very excited to see about how this ends up introducing more later on within the series itself. Now, that's pretty much all we're going to end up having for it. That's pretty much the show for today. So thank you guys for listening to the Nerf Herder Show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that way you never miss an episode, and make sure you hit that bell so that way you get a notification every time when a video gets posted. But yeah, don't forget to follow us on social media, and make sure that you end up tuning in every time to be able to catch the latest news and updates about any type of things between video games, movies, esports, or the pop culture itself. But until next time, guys, stay geeky.